How's it going, guys? Brett Medlack here. I thought this would be a really cool series to do where every week me and my co-host are going to talk about an upcoming Switch game that not enough people are talking about. There's a lot of great games that are coming out, and this show is going to talk about them. So if you like that, please hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, maybe stick around, maybe subscribe, it's up to you. I'm here today with Brett Larson, and we want to talk about an upcoming Switch horror game called Remothered Broken Porcelain. Now, this is a horror game by the developer Stormmind, and it's being published by Modus Games, and I think it looks pretty good. What do you think, Brett?
It does look good. I love this kind of game. I love survival horror games, and I love psychological thrillers, and it looks like it's got a little bit of both of that, so this is absolutely on my radar.
Yeah, so a few things about it that I'm not super into. I'm not super into psychological horror, and I'm not really that into games where you don't really have any type of combat. It's mostly just running and stealth, which works in a lot of games, but I just feel like we're getting to the point where there are so many horror games that all do the same thing. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. Me and you actually differ when it comes to this, because I really kind of like the psychological horror games quite a bit.
I'm wondering how much this one will feed off of the first game, because me and you haven't played that one. I probably don't plan on playing it, but this one looks really good, so I'll probably just jump straight to this one.
I'm absolutely going to play this. From what I've gathered, it's pretty much the same game as the first one in terms of what it does, but, there's a few other things as far as, like, the gameplay that they've added to it as well. I actually may go back and play the first game. From doing a little bit of research, it sounds like this game is going to be kind of a continuation. From what I gathered, it looks like the protagonist goes to an institute called the Ashman Inn, and this institute is for troubled girls, or they got in some kind of a situation for one reason or another, and while in this institute, it looks like all hell breaks loose. There's she's going to be kind of going back and forth between, it looks like the line between reality and non-reality is going to be pretty blurred in this, and that's where the psychological horror aspect is going to come into play. But from what I've gathered, the first game looks like it was based in the Ashman Inn as well, so I kind of do want to see a backstory on that, so I actually may play the first one before I play this one.
Yeah, I just don't think I'll play the original because there's just so many games coming out. It's like non-stop, and I think this one looks really cool, and it's coming to Switch, and it's actually coming day one with other platforms, which is rare these days, so that's pretty exciting. Unless they end up delaying the Switch version, which seems to always happen. But one thing that has bothered me with a lot of games that are also coming to Switch, and I want to know what you think about this, is that when a game's coming to Switch, the developers always showcase the game with the PS4 or Xbox or PC versions. Obviously, they don't want to show the Switch version because it's not going to look as good as the other platforms, but don't you think that gets kind of annoying, never knowing what the Switch version is going to look like until the game comes out?
It does, man. It really does. It's kind of unfortunate just because, like you said, of course they're going to showcase what the game is going to be looking like on a console that's going to look a little bit prettier. It's going to look a little bit more polished. I would say the one thing with this game is it doesn't look like it's too impressive graphically anyways, so I don't know how much of a dip it's actually going to take on the Switch. From what I've seen on it, it looked good, but it doesn't look like anything that the Switch would struggle to play.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's just more of like a lower resolution and lower frame rate, and it doesn't really get hit that hard graphically.
Absolutely. And I think the timing of this is great too, because it's going to be in October, which is kind of right in that time when everyone's in the mood for like a horror game or, something scary, because it's right before Halloween.
Yeah, the 20th, which is perfect. I always hate whenever games will launch like right on Halloween, because then it's like immediately... Like, as soon as Halloween's over, that whole season just switches over to Christmas, and everything's happy.
Yep.
So, like, the 20th is that perfect launch where it's, like, leading up to Halloween.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's always, like, that week or even 2 weeks leading up to Halloween when I'm always in the mood for either, like, a scary movie or a scary game. So this actually will be perfect timing for me.
Yeah, definitely. It really annoyed me whenever Luigi's Mansion launched on the 31st of October. So on the Steam page, it says that the main focus is going to be on stealth and solving puzzles, which isn't out of the ordinary for these types of games. And I'm just hoping that it does something a little different to stand out of the pack. The original game actually has a bit of a cult following, even though it wasn't reviewed very well. So I'm hoping that the developer really stepped up its game with this one. It's the developer's second game, which I think is pretty impressive. But their first game was pretty ambitious for a first game, so hopefully this one has a bit more of a budget. They got a team that's a bit bigger, and I think it could end up being something really special.
Yeah, from what I've seen, part of it actually kind of reminds me of the Outlast series, where there is not really much in terms of combat. I did see one thing in the trailer where she threw something at an enemy basically just to distract it, where she could run away from it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I don't know how heavy they're going to lean into that kind of stuff, but it looks like there's not going to be any straight up combat. But regardless, it does remind me of the Outlast series where you're constantly running away. And that, to me, some of the most terrifying times I've ever had in a game are exactly that, where I know I can't fight back and the only thing I can do is try and figure out how to get to the next section and hide until whatever enemy is chasing me is gone. But it does have some detective aspects, which I thought were cool. I love detective stuff in games. And she has powers too, and I think that the powers is going to be the one thing that's going to separate it from the typical psychological horror game with no combat. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but from what I saw, she was using her mind to unlock some kind of door, so that could have an interesting aspect in the game as well, since she has powers. That might kind of separate it from the pack from the typical kind of games.
One thing that I think would be really cool in a game like this is if, like, halfway through the game, and it wasn't in any of the marketing, but you get some type of weapon that actually helps you get through the levels by maybe hitting one of the enemies.
Yeah, and it looks like that very well may be the case. Like I said, the section I saw, she throws something at an enemy, hits it in the face, and gives her just enough time to duck underneath a table. So there may be a little bit more to it than we realize.
Well, was there anything else you wanted to mention about Remothered Broken Porcelain for the Nintendo Switch?
No, man, like I said, I've been on a kick with this type of game lately, so I'm really excited. It comes out at the perfect time. It's a great title for the Switch where things are a little bit quiet right now, so this is an absolute buy for me.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm probably going to play it day one with you because it'll just really get me into that Halloween spirit. Well, that's it, you guys. I think we're going to be doing more videos like this, hopefully once a week, where we shout out an upcoming Nintendo Switch game that we think looks awesome. So if you want to know about more cool-looking upcoming Switch games, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. And if you didn't, hit that thumbs down. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
See ya.